Long ago, Earth was a place of great power and great danger, a world where humans reached for the stars but often fell to their own mistakes. Legends spoke of a creation so advanced, so perfect, that it could protect humanity from any threat, yet it was never used. It was called the Biotech armor, a suit of living metal and energy, designed to bond with the one person brave enough to awaken it. For centuries, scientists tried, explorers attempted, and heroes dreamed. But the armor did not choose, and humanity slowly forgot. Now, the ruins of the old cities lay silent, dust covering broken streets and fallen towers. The labs where the armor was created were empty, their machines rusted, their screens dark. Few remembered the stories, and even fewer believed them. But deep within the shadows of a collapsed research facility, a spark of curiosity stirred. A young explorer named Ilara moved carefully through the debris, her boots crunching on shattered glass. She had heard the old legends as a child, whispered in tales of adventure and loss. Unlike others, she did not laugh or doubt. She felt a strange pull toward the forgotten, the abandoned, the impossible. When she entered the central chamber, her eyes widened. There it stood, the Biotech armor, silent, lifeless, yet somehow imposing. Its surface shimmered faintly, covered in dust but glowing with a light that seemed almost alive. Ilara circled it slowly, feeling a mix of fear and wonder. She reached out, her fingers hovering above the armor, unsure if it would react. Then, as if sensing her presence, tiny lights flickered along the edges. A soft hum filled the room, low at first, then louder, vibrating through her chest. It was alive, she realized, not just metal, but something more, something aware. The legends were true, the stories real, and she had found it. Her heart pounded. She remembered the old warning, the armor chooses no one. Only the worthy will awaken it. But she could not turn back now, curiosity and destiny pulling her forward. She touched the surface, and suddenly, visions flashed through her mind. She saw cities burning, great wars, humans struggling against enemies they could not defeat. She saw heroes fall, one after another, their courage not enough, their strength wasted. And then, she saw herself, standing alone, facing a challenge she did not yet understand. A voice echoed in her head, soft but clear. Do you dare finish what was begun? Ilara froze, unsure if she had imagined it. But the armor pulsed, waiting, almost breathing. The room seemed to shrink around her as the hum grew louder, almost like it was testing her. Testing her courage, her mind, her heart. She swallowed hard, feeling both fear and excitement. Could she awaken the armor fully? Could she face what it would demand of her? Outside, the wind howled through broken windows, carrying the scent of dust and decay. Inside, the Biotech armor waited patiently, unmoving, silent, yet alive in ways no human could fully understand. And Ilara, standing at the edge of legend, knew one thing for certain. Her life had changed forever, and whatever came next would not be easy. But she was ready to try, ready to awaken the forgotten legacy, ready to face the challenge that centuries had waited for. As she took a deep breath and pressed her hand firmly against the armor, the lights flared. A new story was beginning, one that had been waiting for a hero. And the Biotech armor, silent for centuries, was finally awake. The Biotech armor had waited for centuries, silent, patient, and untouched. Now, with Ilara's hand resting on its surface, it stirred, responding to a courage no one else had shown. Lights traveled across its form, tracing circuits and veins of living metal. A soft hum grew into a low, steady pulse, echoing through the empty chamber. The armor was waking, but it was not yet alive in the way Ilara had imagined. Suddenly, a vision flashed before her eyes, startling her. She saw herself standing in a battlefield of fire. Enemies she had never known attacked cities she had only read about. She saw people running, screaming, and heroes falling one after another. The armor's voice spoke inside her mind again. To awaken me fully, you must understand what is at stake. Ilara's heart raced, but she did not step back. The challenge was bigger than anything she had imagined. The armor tested her, showing her failures of the past, the mistakes humans had made. It revealed the cost of fear, of doubt, and of hesitation. Each vision hit her like a shock, but she held on, gripping the armor tighter. She felt its energy coursing through her fingers, warm yet strange, alive yet mechanical. The chamber seemed to pulse with her heartbeat, blending with the armor's. Then the real test began. The armor projected illusions around her, walls of fire, collapsing towers, alien shapes moving in the shadows. It whispered doubts into her mind. You are not ready. You will fail, like all before you. Ilara's knees shook, and sweat ran down her face. But she took a deep breath and stood taller. She spoke aloud, her voice firm despite the fear. I am ready. I will not fail. For a moment, the visions stopped. The armor's lights flickered as if considering her words. Then, a shock ran through her hand, not painful, but alive, electric and powerful. The armor's surface rippled like liquid metal, molding itself around her touch. It was alive, truly alive now, and aware of her presence. A voice spoke clearly, no longer a whisper. Finally, someone who dares. The chamber filled with a low roar as energy coursed through the room. Dust lifted into the air, lights reflected off every broken surface. Ilara's vision blurred as the armor showed her glimpses of herself in action. Running, leaping, fighting beside the power it could give her. Every ability she could imagine, every strength she could need. It was hers to use, if she proved herself, if she stayed courageous. Outside, the wind shook the ruins, as if the world itself sensed the awakening. Inside, Ilara's mind raced, filled with wonder and fear. She realized the armor was more than a tool. It was alive, thinking, judging, choosing. It had waited for someone patient, strong, and brave. And it had chosen her. Are you ready? It asked inside her mind. Ilara nodded, swallowing hard, feeling a mix of excitement and fear. Then let us begin, the armor whispered. And a surge of energy lifted her slightly off the ground, the suit molding around her like it had always been part of her. The first step was taken, the awakening complete. But this was only the beginning. The world outside waited, dangerous and unforgiving. And Ilara, now bonded with the Biotech armor, understood she could not fail. She would face trials no human had faced for centuries. Yet in the hum of the awakened armor, she felt a quiet thrill. For the first time, she was not alone, and the fight to protect humanity had begun. Ilara felt the armor's weight around her body, yet it moved as if it were alive, flowing with her every motion. She could feel its power, but she also felt its tests pressing on her mind. The Biotech armor had not awakened fully by accident. It demanded more than courage, it demanded proof. Proof that she could face fear, pain, and doubt without breaking. The chamber shifted around her, though no walls had moved. Visions appeared, past heroes, humans who had tried before, failing again and again. Ilara saw them battle terrible foes, only to be defeated. Their screams echoed in her mind, and the armor whispered, "Do you think you are better? Do you think you will not fall?" Her hands shook, her legs weak, but she took a deep breath and said aloud, "I will not fail. I will try." Suddenly, the illusions became more real, more vivid. The room was filled with fire, smoke, and shadowy figures. She ran, dodged, and jumped, reacting as the armor guided her movements. Each step tested her reflexes, her courage, and her focus. Every time she hesitated, the visions intensified, pressing her to fear. But every time she persisted, the armor pulsed, approving silently. The armor showed her Earth as it had once been, before it was abandoned. Cities burned under alien attacks, forests fell to fire, oceans rose with storms. She saw people trying to survive, failing, and the heroes trying to protect them. But their efforts had been too small, too late, too weak. Ilara felt the weight of their failures pressing on her. And the armor spoke again. "Do you understand the cost of hesitation? The cost of fear?" "Yes," she whispered, her voice trembling. "I will not hesitate. I will not fail." The armor shimmered, and the visions changed, showing her herself, not as a child, not as a dreamer, but as a fighter. She saw herself leaping across crumbling buildings, deflecting blasts, protecting the weak, standing alone against impossible odds. The armor strengthened her movements, her mind, and even her courage. Every heartbeat matched the pulse of the armor. Every breath aligned with its energy. Then, the greatest test began. The armor projected her fears into a single enemy, a shadow that combined all past failures. It towered above her, impossible to defeat, moving faster than she could react. Ilara's heart screamed at her to run, to give up. But she remembered the whispers of the armor, the stories of past heroes. She knew that courage was not the absence of fear, it was standing up despite it. With a cry, she faced the shadow, dodging, striking, and moving with the armor's energy flowing through her. Minutes, or maybe hours, passed, though time felt distorted. The shadow tested her every instinct, every decision, every ounce of her will. But slowly, steadily, she learned to predict its moves, to anticipate, to fight. She was no longer alone. The armor and she were one, moving, thinking, and feeling together. Finally, with a decisive strike, the shadow shattered, dissolving into light. The chamber fell silent, the visions vanished, and for the first time, Ilara felt calm. The armor's voice was gentle, approving, "You have passed the first trial. Few have ever come this far. Few would survive what comes next." Ilara breathed heavily, sweat dripping down her face. She had faced the armor's trials, its visions of past failures, and her own deepest fears. Yet she had not broken, she had not turned back. She understood now that the path ahead would be even harder. The world outside would demand more, challenge more, and perhaps take more. But for the first time, she felt ready. For the first time, she felt like the hero the armor had been waiting for. And as the hum of the Biotech armor echoed through the chamber, Ilara knew that the true journey was just beginning. The real challenge, the one that would test her body, mind, and heart, waited outside the ruins. And she would face it, together with the armor that had chosen her. Outside the ruins, the world waited, dangerous and unforgiving. Ilara stepped forward, the Biotech armor moving seamlessly with her, glowing faintly in the dim sunlight. She could feel its power coursing through her, a rhythm in her veins. She was no longer just a human. She was a fusion of courage, skill, and technology. Suddenly, the horizon shook, a low roar growing louder. A massive threat emerged, a wave of alien drones, sleek and deadly, moving in perfect formation. Their weapons glinted in the sunlight, scanning for targets. Ilara's heart pounded, but she did not falter. The armor hummed, alive and aware, responding to her thoughts. Together, they were ready for what no human had faced for centuries. The first wave struck, missiles shooting toward her from above. Ilara leapt, propelled by the armor, twisting in midair, deflecting the blasts with a glowing shield. Energy flowed from her hands, forming beams of light that struck drones with precision. Each strike echoed through the ruined city, sparks and fragments flying. She moved faster than she had ever imagined, anticipating every attack, guided by the armor's intelligence. The drones adapted quickly, surrounding her from all sides. But Ilara was calm, her mind clear, her focus absolute. The armor whispered tactics in her mind: use the shadows, move with me, strike where they are weakest. Following its guidance, she darted between collapsing buildings. Her movements a blur of light and energy. The drones fired relentlessly, but the armor's power shielded her, strengthened her, guided her. Then, she saw the leader, a massive drone, larger and stronger than the rest. Its red sensors locked onto her, analyzing, calculating, preparing to strike. She felt a surge of fear, but it was different now, controlled, purposeful. The armor pulsed, acknowledging her resolve. She raised her hand, feeling the energy building. A beam of pure light shot forward, striking the leader. It staggered, but it did not fall. The battle intensified, explosions shaking the city, debris falling all around. Ilara danced between attacks, striking drones, protecting herself, and moving closer to the leader. She realized that this was more than a fight. It was a test of her courage and the armor's bond. Finally, with a determined cry, she focused all the armor's energy into a single strike. The beam hit the leader directly, engulfing it in light. It shrieked, sparks flying as it crumpled to the ground, defeated. The remaining drones paused, scattered, then retreated. The world was quiet again, except for the hum of the armor, steady and proud. Ilara fell to her knees, exhausted but triumphant. The armor's lights dimmed slightly, as if acknowledging her victory. It had chosen her for a reason, and she had proven herself. For the first time, humans had a chance to fight back, to protect their world. As the sun set over the ruins, Ilara looked around. The threat had been defeated, but she knew it was only the beginning. The world outside was still dangerous, still filled with unknown enemies. But she was ready, bonded with the armor, stronger than she had ever been. The hero had emerged, not alone, but with a power that could shape the future. And in the quiet hum of the armor, she heard the promise. The fight is not over. The world will call again, and we will be ready. The battle was over, but the world was far from safe. Ilara stood among the ruins, the Biotech armor glowing softly around her. The wind carried the smell of dust and smoke, yet she felt hope. For the first time in centuries, humanity had a protector, a hero, someone who could face the impossible. She looked at the city, broken but still standing. People began to emerge from hiding, their eyes wide with fear and wonder. Some whispered her name, unsure if what they saw was real. Others pointed at the glowing armor, amazed by its power. Ilara felt the weight of responsibility pressing on her shoulders. She knew this was only the beginning, not the end. The armor pulsed gently, like a heartbeat. It had chosen her, bonded with her, and together, they had fought a threat no human could face alone. It had taught her, tested her, and strengthened her. Now, it seemed almost alive in celebration, acknowledging her courage, her strength, her resolve. But Ilara knew the world would not stay quiet for long. Threats still lurked in the shadows, alien forces, rogue machines, natural disasters. The armor whispered to her, not with words, but with a feeling, a connection she could sense in her bones. We are ready. Together, we can face anything. But we must stay vigilant. She turned toward the horizon, where smoke still rose from distant ruins. A part of her wanted to rest, to breathe, to celebrate. But another part knew her journey was far from over. She was no longer just a human. She was the hero the world had waited for. The one the armor had chosen, the one capable of defending humanity. Ilara raised her hand, and the armor's energy shimmered around her. It lifted her slightly, almost like it was showing her the possibilities. She could feel the future, full of challenges, dangers, and victories. The world was wide, and she would need every bit of courage and strength she had. But for the first time, she felt ready, confident, and alive. The people around her began to cheer, slowly at first, then louder. They saw hope in her, in the glowing armor, in the promise that humanity could survive. Ilara smiled faintly, feeling the weight of centuries of failure lift from the world. She had not only awakened the armor, she had awakened a legacy, a symbol of courage and resilience. As night fell, the stars appeared above, shining over the ruins. Ilara looked up and whispered, "We did it. But this is only the beginning." The armor pulsed in agreement, bright and alive, ready for the next challenge. Somewhere in the distance, a new threat would rise. And when it did, she and the armor would be ready. The legend of the Biotech armor, forgotten for centuries, had returned. And with it, a hero who would inspire generations to come. Ilara had restored hope, had faced the trials, and had emerged victorious. But the world was still full of mysteries, waiting for the next hero to rise. And in the quiet hum of the armor, there was a single promise. The legacy continues. The fight is not over. The future belongs to those who dare.